Hi, everyone. Harry here to talk about Donald Trump's amendment of his lawsuit against CBS to claim double or $20 billion in damages from a complete bogus, ridiculous lawsuit. Let me put this into context and show the brazenness and total nastiness of what Trump is doing. All right. And by the way, the big theme here, exploitation of political power as president for personal ends. I wrote a Substack on this last week. It's just the exact same thing that got him impeached twice and should have gotten him impeached twice. Okay, October during the campaign, CBS does its traditional end of campaign interviews with both candidates. Trump pulls out, doesn't participate. Kamala Harris does. A particular answer that she gives is presented one way in the morning, and in the shorter 60 minutes that evening, a different version is presented. Trump says that the whole thing was deceptive. There's no First Amendment claim. There's no argument they've done anything wrong under federal law. But what Trump says is under a Texas law about fraudulent practices, they've done fraudulent business practices to try to promote Harris's interests above those of Trump. And he goes on, the complaint's a screed and a really sort of stream of consciousness, complete piece of crap complaint where he's saying that somehow they deceptively edited and now, of course, $20 billion of damage. At the time, CBS said, we're going to defend, there is nothing here. And other scholars were much less kind, saying, this deserves to be completely laughed at. It's a joke. And it was a joke. Why, however, was it a joke brought in Texas under Texas state law? So they could go to federal court, which you can do under the Constitution if the parties on either side are from different states. And he went to a particular division where he knew he would get Matthew Kacsmaryk, one of the 2 or 3 most notorious judges in the country, totally partisan, totally crazy on social issues. It's the guy who had the really overreaching opinion to try to strike down mifepristone. So naked forum shopping, and that's why they brought it there. Okay, but that's where it stood, this crappy lawsuit, and then Trump became president, and then just flat out corrupt. He appoints his hand-picked guy, who he'd already installed on the FCC, as the chair, and this guy has proceeded to do his bidding in completely improper ways. So he has suggested that CBS, or Paramount, its parent company, that its efforts to close this big merger will depend in part on whether or not they can show absence of bias, which is a code word for favorable Trump coverage, and it's 100% clear under the law. The FCC may not try to tell media what it can cover and what it can't, but it's just an end around with this merger and an imposition of something they've never done before. And then that made the chair of Paramount, who figures potentially to get quite a lot of money from the merger, Sherry Redstone. Now she wants to talk settlement. So that's, maybe we want to settle the case even though it's complete garbage case. That came out, and it's in response to that Trump, rather than, taking some kind of settlement based on really the business interest, nothing to do with the merits of the lawsuit, smells blood in the water, And so up to $20 billion, all on a theory that makes no sense. Now, at this point, CBS, which, by the way, when they started to talk maybe settlement, people at CBS themselves were horrified and disgusted. But Paramount is the parent company. Now that they're upping it, one thing they've tried to do is move it out of Texas and get it out from the clutches of Matthew Kacsmaryk. Trump, in response, has added as a plaintiff a Texas member of Congress, Dr. Ronnie Jackson. Sound familiar? He's the guy who Trump has called on to serve as his doctor. They've inserted him in the case. Don't understand exactly how or why, but to try to stay with Kacsmaryk. So, just to summarize, a ridiculous case based on Texas, not on First Amendment, but on Texas supposed fraudulent business practices, except there aren't any, that was going nowhere until Trump won the presidency, at which point he appointed the head of his FCC, a total partisan who proceeded to do things that FCC chairs just don't do, which is to try to impose substantive requirements on CBS and Paramount to basically say nice things about Trump under the guise of investigation of bias. And when it worked and the head of Paramount was going to knuckle under, that's when Trump now has said, I want $20 billion, and is just, being completely ruthless and nasty. It's a lesson that, among other things, Trump is never, ever to be placated where media come around. There's no such thing as, actually getting on his good side. Wherever he can get an advantage, wherever he can try to make trouble for the media, he will. But this is sort of outrage on top of outrage on top of outrage. And at the worst part of it, to my mind, is the complete corruption of his presidential power to take his FCC chair, tell him to serve his personal interests. This is a lawsuit that Donald Trump filed in October 2024, and use the leverage of federal power to squeeze a settlement out, and now a bigger settlement that never would have come to pass, but for the corrupt use of the federal power. This is ugly in 8 different ways, but especially in the abuse of presidential power. It's exactly what happened for the impeachments. He wanted to get Zelensky for his personal reasons, to trash Biden or say there was an investigation. And so he held up U.S. aid that had already been appropriated, or he tried to. He wanted to get the DOJ to tell Georgia that it was investigating it for his personal reasons. So he tried to strong-arm DOJ, and it didn't work. That's this pattern here. And it is just a total, pure, and simple abuse, corrupt use of executive power, arguably even criminal, except, we know that the Supreme Court has shielded it from that. But totally nasty, ugly, brazen, Trumpian. Talk to you later. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video and other Talking Feds content, please take a second to like and subscribe. Talk to you later.